Good afternoon. This is Rich Nass with Open Systems Media, and I'm here for this week's installment of 5 Minutes With. And this week, I'll be speaking to Ted Miracco, who is the CEO of SmartFlow. Good morning, Ted. How are you?
Very good, Rich, and thank you for having me on the program.
Oh, my pleasure. Okay, so your company focuses on cybersecurity. If you ask 10 people what that means, you're likely to get 8 or 9 different answers. So tell me what part of cybersecurity that SmartFlow is involved in.
Good question, Rich. As far as SmartFlow compliance solutions is concerned, we're really focused specifically on the problem of software piracy. So what we do is try to protect software companies and other companies' intellectual property from being used by people who are not authorized to use it, people who are taking advantage of end-user license agreements and maybe using more licenses than they're entitled to, or using outright counterfeit or cracked copies of the software that's being distributed illegally on the internet.
So do you focus mostly on bad guys, or is a lot of this like inadvertent hacks, people just stumbling onto something by accident?
Another good question. Yeah, our customers are obviously the good guys, and the people who are taking advantage of them fall into a number of categories. So there is one category that we kind of refer to as the anarchists. Anarchists are people who just believe that software should be free and that it's that nobody should be charging for it because it doesn't cost anything to develop. They're the rogues that are out there. In addition to that, though, there are also what we call soft pirates. Soft pirates are the type of people who may get an evaluation copy and they don't have a chance to fully evaluate the software in the time limit, so then they decide that they're going to continue their evaluation before they buy it by maybe getting a counterfeit copy. And they tend to rationalize that this is a victimless crime and that they're just doing an evaluation. But that happens as well. Then there are people that we call victims. Victims are people who are duped into buying counterfeit software that they think is legitimate. So sometimes this software will be pre-installed on computers, and the person selling the hardware will try to increase the value of their hardware by saying it has all of this software on it, but it has stolen software. In other cases, there are rogue distributors, and there are websites that traffic in counterfeit software, and they try to look legitimate. So you may be able to go to a website and buy a $100,000 subscription to software for $25 with your credit card. Now, you'd think that would be obvious that that's not the real McCoy, but some people fall for it, and that we call those victims. And the last category is really companies that are outright pirates. So there are a number of companies, many in Russia, the Eastern Bloc, and clearly in China. This is a big problem, and other parts of Asia, that their competitive advantage is really using stolen software. So they don't feel like they can compete with some of the companies that are licensing legitimate software, and they want to have low-cost labor and low-cost infrastructure. So they use crack copies as part of their competitive advantage. And they're probably the most dangerous of the four types that we see out there.
Okay, so let's go to that first group, which I found the most intriguing, the people who don't think that they should have to pay for software and it should be free. I mean, is that a legitimate claim in this day and age?
No, it's we call them anarchists for a reason. These are people who are on the fringes of society. Sometimes they're students. There are a number of groups out there, kind of like organized hacking groups. Some of them just do it for sport. But from our perspective, this is the least interesting of the four, because we're really interested in helping companies monetize piracy. And this one group of the four is the least likely to actually legitimize and pay license fees when confronted with evidence that they're infringing on the copyright. Oftentimes they're not even employed, so there's not like a rich opportunity there to legalize the customers. But the other three categories are actually all interesting, because generally if you send the right letter, the right cease and desist letter, Sometimes the management of these companies are unaware that this is taking place within their organization, and they will take immediate steps to correct the problem by purchasing legal licenses. And many times they actually become very good customers. And that's been my experience. I've worked in the compliance business with my prior company, AWR Corporation, and we had a very good track record of converting pirates into really good customers with the right approach. And that's what we're trying to teach our customers to do, is to have the right approach and to monetize this opportunity.
Interesting. Okay, we're just about out of time, but I'd like to ask, what do you do to stay ahead of the hackers? I mean, they're pretty innovative, and you always have to be one step ahead. What do you do to do that?
Absolutely. Again, a very good question. So it is an arms race out there. So we come up with new technology, and then they come up with methods to try to circumvent it. And it's one of the reasons why software companies outsource this to companies like ours, is that we think about it day and night. We're focused on it. We monitor what's going on out there. We look at how the software is being cracked, and we're constantly innovating ways to actually identify the people that are using the crack licenses. I don't want to talk too much about it, but I will say that it's easier today than it was 10 years ago, because things are more and more connected. Everything is connected with the Internet of Things and with the Internet. So it becomes harder and harder for people to hide because there just is a lot of gateways for actually identifying people. People leave footprints all over the place, and we're pretty good at actually finding who's using it, where, and we can pinpoint it with extreme accuracy, not only down to the building's address, but down to the cubicle of the guy who's using it in some cases. So it is a game of cat and mouse, and we're trying to stay a couple steps ahead of the people who are trying to steal intellectual property.
Probably wonder sometimes whether you're the cat or the mouse in that game.
We're the cat.
Okay. I'm afraid we are out of time, and that was 5 minutes with Ted Miracco, the CEO of SmartFlow. Thank you very much, Ted.
Excellent. Thank you, Rich.